Get Out the Native Vote, a nonpartisan effort, has worked across Alaska, especially in rural areas, to mobilize Native voters, advocate for polling stations, educate election workers, and more.
Election integrity for us means literally getting a polling station set up. There's no culture war about it. It is logistics. It is extreme distance and extreme weather that can factor into whether or not we can set up a polling precinct. Election worker recruitment and retention needs a lot more work. Our training of election workers needs a lot more work. For our part, because it takes a village to make elections happen, is we are trying to make election work a tribal workforce development issue. Also recruiting for the Postal Service, because of all the postal vacancies in the state, most of them are in our rural Native communities. And if you do not have a postal system, you do not have an elections.
Efforts also include traveling in person to rural communities to engage voters.
When I approach a community, I have heard people say we've never heard of someone coming to talk to us about voting before. In the 80s and 90s, you used to have candidates coming through a lot, and we had a sense of who our lawmakers were. We don't really have that today. Maybe people take social media for granted and think that gets the message out. But we have broadband deserts, we have expensive data plans. Voter education cannot be done remotely. It needs to be done in person. Get Out the Native Vote does not need to be the only carrier of civic messages. Native organizations, tribal or corporate, local Native leadership, we all need to step in and get our communities prepared for elections the way we prepare for hunting and fishing and storms. Every vote counts. We have close races. But we need that one vote to add up to another one in order to start making a difference and an impact. In 1982, the whole Alaska Native community voted at a rate of 66%. We have dropped down to an average 22% in 2022. We are trying to turn our voter apathy on its head and realize that we have to own our power because we have it. We have that potential, and if we can just inspire some competition among ourselves, against other regions, against other communities, some healthy competition, maybe we can start to turn the needle.
Native leaders say the Native vote is key in helping protect the ways of life among Alaska Native people.
The Native vote is critical to the future of our state. I think approximately 1 in 4 Alaskans is Alaska Native, and I think we have the ability to really shape the future of our state by electing leaders that support the issues that are important to Alaska and to Indian country as a whole.
And what are some of those top issues that you're concerned about?
Well, I think certainly subsistence is a major one, climate change, economic development, education, truth and reconciliation for boarding schools, NAGPRA issues, really just the future of our state.
I want people to know, and I want our own people to know, that our grandparents fought very hard for the right to vote because they realized that we have to control institutions that affect our lives. So it's really important that we elect people who have the same ideologies as us, or at least believe in social and economic equity, and will support institutions that support that kind of, ideals. And of course, we would love to have Native people serve in government, in the legislature, and in Congress, and we certainly are proud of the ones who do serve. And we know we need to get more of them in there. But absent that, we need to get out to vote to support people who will support us. Right now we know that our schools are underfunded, and we want to have people who will get in the legislature and support our schools. Schools represent our future. So it just affects so many, parts of our lives. I serve on the Alaska Federation of Native Subsistence Committee. We want the government, both the federal government and the state government, to recognize that we as the first peoples of this nation, we as the first peoples of this state of Alaska have rights, to hunting and fishing. It's not only food security, but it's also the basis of our culture. So we want to make sure, that we elect people, we get out and vote, and support people who will support subsistence hunting and fishing. I mean, we have many, many issues, but for us, at least for myself serving on the AFN Subsistence Committee, that is a priority issue.
There's always going to be issues, in the indigenous world, in the movie Killers of the Flower Moon. If you've got something of value, someone's going to try to get it, right? So you've got to protect it. So we've got to protect our land. And we have issues. Nowadays, housing is still a big issue. It is so expensive up north, to build a home. Like maybe 3 times as much it costs maybe where you live, because we don't have roads and railroads, right? And so subsistence is always an issue. We're trying to protect our ability to live off the land like we've done for literally thousands of years. Of course, the state is also running lower on money because what has built Alaska is oil production, and that's down to around 500,000 barrels or so. It used to be 2 million, and so there's less money. We have climate issues. We have communities that are having to move because most of our communities are along the rivers, along the coastline, and they're being impacted by changing weather patterns, not as much ice, shore-fast ice protecting those places. So that's a big issue. So we have plenty of issues.